She stood on a brightly lit stage at age 13, her voice raw and fierce, and the audience sat in silence as Courtney Hadwin poured her soul into the song, because no one expected a tiny girl from County Durham to shake a sold-out theater in America within seconds. Today, we will trace her astonishing rise, the moment that changed her life forever and the tragedy that followed her dream. So stay with me as we narrate every twist and turn in Courtney Hadwin's journey, from a hopeful audition to a heartbreaking accident, and learn exactly how her spirit carried her through the darkest period of her life. They saw a fearless girl on stage, but what was the pain she had behind that powerful voice? And before fame changed everything, who really was Courtney Hadwin behind closed doors? A little girl with big dreams, Courtney Hadwin was born on May 6, 2004, in Heselden, a small village in County Durham, England, to a Marie Hadwin and Paul Hadwin. And her parents are hardworking, and even on busy days, they always found time to help nurture her talent in music. Young Courtney first heard soul music when she was very small, and her mother played music from different established artists, and this helped in her singing, as she had shown a passion for music at a tender age, and she learned to tap her foot to strong rhythms and to hum along with different melodies. At age 3, she could dance with her hands up in the air whenever her parents played music in the house, and her love for music brought so much joy to her parents, and they loved watching her do little performances in the house. The school introduced her to singing lessons at age 8, and her music teacher noticed her angelic tone and unique depth of voice, and the teacher encouraged her to join the school choir, and weekly rehearsals in the school hall helped her grow more confident with each song she sang. Performing with classmates on stage at assembly made her proud. After her schoolmates saw her sing and dance at the same time, they nicknamed her Rocker Girl. She enjoyed singing and had a lot of confidence. She never was shy about performing before a crowd. Courtney Hadwin was deeply committed to her art. She never missed the music lessons. She learned how to pay attention to breathing, so her voice could reach the highest note. Early before school, she would practice vocal scales in her room mirror and even write lyrics at that young age. At age 10, she formed a group of neighborhood children to sing and play within the hood, and they called themselves Durham Soul. Their parents supported them in so many ways, even the contribution to purchasing guitars and drums for them. Smaller crowds could gather and watch them sing along. The community started to notice her talent. A reporter from a local newspaper wrote a short feature about a young singer with an angelic voice, titled, "A Young Girl Brings Soul to County Durham." That article made her parents proud, and it gave Courtney a reason to believe her voice mattered. She also went for training at Schottenhall Theater School, and Marie drove her there every weekend to practice. The music teacher, she found their work with her on phrasing and control. Courtney learned how to shape her voice to the emotion of each song. Expressing feelings through sound became her goal. Her first real stage was at a small festival in Durham City where thousands of people came to watch, and under those lights, she felt nervous at first, but she quickly found focus and gained confidence. When she finished singing the final song, everybody applauded her. Even those who didn't know her name cheered because they felt touched by her great voice. Her friends and even classmates would often ask her to sing at birthday parties and events within their neighborhood, and standing before a small group of familiar faces helped her learn to share her feelings through music. And each time she picked up a song, she selected those with lyrics that she felt inside, and that choice made every song beautiful and enjoyable for listeners. By age 12, her dreams had grown bigger than her hometown, and she saved the pocket money given by her parents because she wanted to chip in and help them pay for her plane tickets. The idea of sharing her gift on a larger stage became her hope, and late at night, she wrote the goals she would love to achieve, and this child was born talented, and this made her special, and I can feel it. And can you? Support from family and friends made every step feel easier, and her mother always told her to work hard, stay humble, and remember her goal in life. And those words stayed with her as she prepared to travel far from home, and dreaming of a bigger world beyond Heselden became the first chapter of her story. She was just a kid with a suitcase and a dream, but would America see her gift or leave her forgotten in the crowd? And what happened when she finally took the stage? The audition that stunned America in the summer of 2018, 13-year-old Courtney Hadwin stepped off a plane in Omaha, Nebraska, carrying her small suitcase, a leather jacket, and a great determination. And she had never been to the United States before. Family friends had warned her about jet lag and advised her to rest well after landing. But her mind was fixed on one goal, which was earning a place on America's Got Talent. On the morning of her audition, Courtney arrived at the CenturyLink Center feeling excited and nervous at the same time, and inside the holding area, hopeful singers and dancers practiced in small groups, and backstage staff called names at random, leaving contestants to wait in silence for their turn. Courtney Hadwin held her fedora in one hand and gripped her audition form in the other, and she took a deep breath and followed producers through a narrow hallway onto the stage. The judges' table sat under bright lights, and Simon Cowell, Heidi Klum, Howie Mandel, and Melby watched each act without applause until the final bit, and when Courtney walked to the center of the stage, silence fell over the audience. She wore a little black leather jacket, a white shirt, and dark jeans, and her hair fell in loose waves around her shoulders. Silence spread through the hall as the band began the opening chords of Piece of My Heart. And at first, her voice came out soft, and she closed her eyes and felt the beat in her chest, and in a moment, her true power burst forth, and her tone cracked with longing and strength. She stomped her foot in time with the music, moving like a singer twice her age, and every note held grit and feeling. Simon leaned forward, eyebrows raised, and Heidi sat upright with her eyes wide open, and Howie covered his mouth with his hand, unable to hide his surprise, and Melby tapped her fingers on the table, waiting for more. When the final chord rang out, the theater exploded in cheers, and judges stood and applauded her amazing performance. And a special moment came when Simon hit his buzzer, sending a red light glimmering onto the stage. Courtney's eyes opened, and she saw Simon smiling and reached for her fedora, and she glanced at the judges and then at her mother, who was weeping. Tears of joy backstage. A producer handed her a microphone for a short interview, and with a shaky voice, she said, "I love to sing. It makes me feel free," and the simplicity of her answer touched viewers. Her performance clip spread across social media that same night, and by morning it had gained over 10 million views on YouTube, and news outlets from the New York Times to BBC posted articles calling her the voice of a teen Janis Joplin. Headlines praised her fierce style and raw power, and newspapers in her hometown of Heselden ran front page features describing how she had taken America by storm. Producers invited Courtney back the next day for a more private audition, and in a glass room, cameras rolled as she met fellow contestants and judges again. She performed an original song written by her vocal coach Laura titled Heart and Soul, and even without the full stage lights, her voice carried emotion through every corner of the room. Simon praised her creativity in choosing a song that reflected her feelings, and he said, "You are not just copying anyone, you are yourself." That moment proved critical, and judges made sure she would advance directly to the live shows, and she left the audition room with a group of fellow performers, all hugging her and offering words of congratulations. In interviews, Courtney spoke about missing her family and friends, but she also admitted a growing sense of belonging on the America's Got Talent stage, and that night, she received so many messages, and she gained new fans across the world who praised her on different social media platforms. Messages came in from as far away as Japan and Brazil, thanking her for sharing her music, and one fan wrote, "Your voice makes me feel alive," and another said, "You remind me of my daughter." Courtney Hadwin was so overwhelmed with joy that she could not hold back her tears, and she realized her singing had connected with people she would never meet. Over the coming weeks, videos of her audition continued to gather views, and talk shows called for appearances, and the Today Show invited her to sing on live television. She balanced her schoolwork with the ongoing task by attending online classes, and she had the support of her parents, who helped her juggle. In every interview, she remained focused on singing rather than fame. Her journey from her hometown choir in England to a standing ovation audition in the United States showed both her talent and her courage, and she was dedicated to her art, and it was her best shot. That audition became the moment the world discovered Courtney Hadwin, and from that point on, nothing was the same. America's Got Talent had found its new star, and Courtney Hadwin had found her moment to shine. Overnight sensation by the time live show started, Courtney Hadwin was no longer just a contestant. She was a headline, and within hours of her audition airing online, viewers across the world fell in love with her. Fans shared videos of her performance on social media, tagging friends and family, and news sites ran stories with titles like "Teen Rock Star from England Steals a Show." In less than one day, Her video passed 10 million views on YouTube, and suddenly, this young girl from County Durham found herself at the center of a whirlwind she had only ever dreamed about. She arrived in Los Angeles under a special chaperone arrangement, and schoolwork kept her busier, and her tutor helped her with her schoolwork because she was constantly traveling, and she needed assistance to maintain her grades. She also created time to focus on her next performance, and each morning, she woke early to practice before breakfast, and she warmed up her voice using different scales, stretching her chest and shoulders to support every note. Her coach watched carefully and offered guidance on timing and breath control, and small improvements each day built her confidence and made her more perfect in her craft. Afternoons brought rehearsals on the America's Got Talent soundstage, and bright lights hung overhead, and cameras moved on tracks to capture every angle, and Courtney learned to work with spotlights and fog machines so that nothing distracted from her voice. She practiced walking with a microphone stand and learned to pause for dramatic effect at the end of each phrase, and producers and directors were amazed by her focus. And one crew member said she handled each new challenge with maturity beyond her years. When live show week finally arrived, Courtney chose to sing Maybe by Janis Joplin, and she stood on a stage framed by glowing arches and deep red lighting, and before she began, the audience sat in silence. Then she opened her mouth and let loose a strong, powerful sound filled with emotion, and the crowd rose to its feet midway through the song, cheering so loudly that it filled the arena. Judges smiled and nodded in approval, and after finishing while still standing on the stage, confetti cannons burst, covering her in shimmering streamers, and cheers echoed for minutes. Her name could be seen on charts, music blog, and fan sites, and within 24 hours, her performances ranked among the most viewed clips in the talent show's history. Talk shows called her team, and they set up her first appearance on Ellen DeGeneres' show, and when she walked onto that stage, Ellen gave her a warm hug, and they laughed as Ellen tried to sing a line with her gravelly tone. Courtney shared that she missed her dog back home, and that hearing applause made her heart feel full. Next came The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, and Jimmy surprised her with a live drum beat behind her as she sang a blues classic, and the audience clapped to the rhythm. After the song, Jimmy and his bandleader, Questlove, praised her voice control and passion in music. And they joked about forming a band together, and Courtney laughed and said she would consider it once she finished her schoolwork. Each appearance added to her growing popularity, and record labels sent offers of studio time, and merchandise companies inquired about hoodies and T-shirts. Courtney kept her feet on the ground, though, remembering her mom's words, "Sing to spread the happiness, not for the attention." She called home after each interview, because that kept her family close. She listened to messages from fans who found hope through her music, and she could journal short sentences like, "Today, I sang for millions. Tomorrow, I will sing with my heart, because I loved it." From one audition clip to global fame, Courtney Hadwin's journey became the story of an overnight sensation. And even so, behind the sudden fame lay hours of practice, a lot of focus, and the same goal she had since she was little, to sing with all her heart. Millions knew her as a fearless girl with a powerhouse voice. But what happens when the spotlight fades and a single rainy night changes everything forever, and what really happened that night? The tragic night in early October 2018, Courtney Hadwin joined a small tour supporting fellow America's Got Talent finalists, and following weeks of live performances, the group traveled by bus from Minneapolis toward Madison, Wisconsin.